did an assessment. Walked in and stood awkwardly at the mousy little woman's door. When she noticed me, she seemed startled as she jumped to attention, scurrying over to me as if I were her next slice of cheese. And she overly emphatically said, well, over-eagerly shaking my hand, "Nice to meet you, Miss West. Come right in. Tell me how I can help you today." I nervously pointed a twitching finger between the "why do they call it a love seat, not so easy chair" before asking in an earnest attempt not to sound half as anxiety-driven as I actually was, "Do I need to lie down on the couch?" The doc chuckled a bit while pushing her sexy specs up from the bridge of her mousy little nose, and I succumbed to an ADD mind trip, wondering as I wondered if she was one of those closet freaks with fetishes for the spread of condiments over flesh during sex. She looked a bit as if her PhD may just be enough to get her a debut on an episode of Let's Rehab You with Dr. Drew. By the time my twisted mind had turned my therapist into a sex-addicted, morphine-begging freak who spread Miracle Whip on her nipples, her voice brought me back to reality. The sofa is reserved for the clients who are truly disturbed. I believe you simply may be in need of someone to assist you, an organizer to declutter the recesses of your cluttered mind. I think your stress just gets the best of you, and you require someone to vent to, so sit right there in the easy chair and tell the good doctor what ails you. And so I sat, trying not to pay too much attention to how annoying it was that she was petting my hand. And I know my arm's a bit hairy, but it became rather apparent I may have to cuss her out when her stroke began extending to my elbow as if she were petting from furry little head down spine of kitten, and so I quickly sat my wannabe ass not so easily sinking into the easy chair. With inhalation and exhalation of deepest breath ever, I began vomiting words all over pristine cream carpet, staining fibers of perfection with debauchery and dysfunction. Insomnia has set in. I rarely ever sleep. I lie in bed counting dusty pink roses and mint green leaves on wallpaper until bushes come to life, and when they do, I pick them to make beautiful bouquets. But then I get pissed off because there's no baby's breath in the midst of this mess they call interior decoration in the 70s, which then causes me to get depressed with the realization that my bedroom has wallpaper that's 30 years old. I'm plagued with perplexing paranoia. When I tell you my hygiene habits, you're prone to assess I have OCD, obsessively compulsive in the way I bathe, Clorox bleach added to my water approximately 3 times a day. And at night, when the absence of baby's breath causes my anger to rise, I sometimes retire to the tub, where close confines and warm liquids tend to remind me of amniotic fluids. And when I slide down into the water, somehow, my own heartbeat takes on the sound of uterine paradise, lulling me to sleep. And I wake, hours later, fingers and toes resembling raisins. I'm told there's questions about the way I behave. I talk to myself, and I'm known to answer my own questions too. Matter of fact, people think I'm pretty good at this spoken word poetry thing I do, and all that really is me talking to myself most of the time. I just hold papers in my hand to make them think I'm reading so they won't think I'm crazy. My phobias own their own little phobias, and sometimes they're like little gangs fighting each other over my psyche. It's prime territory. Took my son to the train station, had an anxiety attack as agoraphobia pulled a drive-by on acrophobia on the steps of Amtrak. There I was, stuck, 13 steps away from the second floor door, expansive station floor below me. It was wide open around, surrounding me. I could look down and I could see it, but it was so far away. And I, rather than feeling unrestricted and without bounds, felt unsafe, without guidance nor leadership. I turned to look behind me, realized I was trapped, stairway packed with people, and that's when misophonia raped me. I began to itch because suddenly everybody seemed dirty to me. And then I began to focus on everybody's hands, afraid they were all going to touch me, and I couldn't breathe. And that's when I felt homicidal. That happens a lot lately, so please don't scare me. If you do, there's a good possibility I just might cut you with words. I'm apt to begin cursing you out at the drop of a dime since I show daily signs of Tourette's syndrome, which seems to come out poetically in the form of couplets, sometimes ending in rhyme, and sometimes I have to remind myself I'm not talking to people like teachers and school officials, and I have to say things such as, I do not appreciate my son being the target of your insensitivity, rather than, who the fuck do you think you are putting my son's dyslexia and ADD on display like he's a fucking monstrosity? Yeah, my mouth gets me in trouble sometimes, which is why I have become increasingly reclusive. I'm not around people, then I can't say things that will offend them. But, oh shoot. But then I seem to be a social elephant. Now that I want to be around people, I tend to be a bit large and uncomfortable knocking things over everywhere I go. I don't know, I just don't know. My father? No. I don't like him, no. He's the reason I can't look at Caucasian penis. Why? Because it makes me want to gag. He was Pavlov and I was his dog, see? Show me a white penis and I get nauseated. They look like raw chicken drumstick to me, attached to grotesque furry pink balls of flesh that sag. I detest my father. I have dreams of him dying. My brother calls me and tells me it's time. I rise from a comfortable spot where I've been slumbering peacefully, dress slowly and make my way to his side, and I watch him die. I do not cry, do not weep, lamenting tears of grief. I smile. I rise with relief to bury him along with all of his misogynistic lies. My mommy? Oh my. I miss my mommy. I buried her, held her hand as she took her last breath filled with the scent of wildflowers. She proved to me death is beautiful, made me no longer fear my own dance macabre. Grief is an odd emotion I cycle through with a 2 steps forward, 10 steps back method. Sometimes I still hear her voice in my head. Sometimes I forget she's even dead. Sometimes I still pick up the phone to call her. Sometimes I get mad at her, even though the issue is just how much I want her. My sister is a pious woman with a holier-than-thou deity about her, teaching me just how much I detest hypocrisy. She seems to have forgotten she came from the same demon-infested bloodline as I. Seems to see evil in me, speaks to me judgmentally, says that this poetry thing that I do is an abomination, speaks constantly of damnation, and I refuse to bow down any longer, seeking affirmation like I once would, like they make me think I should, so now she just doesn't call at all. Guess I stopped feeding some sort of need in her. My brother is the militant man, believes in the lie that big boys don't cry. Saw a bit too much in the form of sexuality and obscenity in our perfect little home of debauchery. And he taught it all to our perfect sister. But that's a story she won't talk about because then she won't seem so perfect. I left home at 14. The life I lived was completely obscene. I ducked bullets and wore the blood and brain mass of my first love. First love. What the fuck did I even know about love? I, the little girl, masquerade as a grown woman. The child playing adult games. Teddy bear in one hand, condom in the other. I know this is getting heavy, Doc, but wait, I'm not done. Been raped in a park at 2 in the morning. I was drunk. That society tell me that it was my fault. Raped again by a frat house filled with brothers. They kept it all in the family. My man gave them the gift of me. America's future doctors, lawyers, and judges plowing into me. And I could accept it, or I could never come back. Oh, thank you so much for giving me the option to opt out on the return ticket to hell. I was pregnant the first time at 15. I had a miscarriage. I got pregnant again and again unsuccessfully, and then I was pregnant with twins. And I got to 5 months gestation, but I was young and really dumb and wasn't taking care of myself at all. I was drinking alcohol and I was smoking cigarettes and didn't do anything I should have done to take care of 2 fragile lives inside of me. The day of delivery, I held twin son and daughter in palm of each hand as they died. As I looked down at tiny bodies, you would think I would have cried, but it was too late. I was already comfortably numb, filled with apathy. Yes. Yes, indeed, I do have criminal history, spent time in the penitentiary. That was years ago, 15 to be exact. Did a term of 3. I can still hear the sound of that girl the night she was attacked. Guess she had a dope debt or something. The guards let them in her cell. They beat and raped her, ripped her internal organs to shreds. Broomstick handle jammed inside her. For 3 years, I played crazy to make them leave me alone. Just wanted to see another day so I could get out of there and go home to my boy. Yeah, I had a son at home. Mama took care of him for me, thank God. For 3 full years, I played crazy as a survival technique. Only problem is, I think I took the crazy role one step too far, beginning to think the balance of my mental state has become slightly ajar. But that may have something to do with the closed head injury I got when the man who claimed to love me made a punching bag of me. Made me believe my destiny was in a body bag. When he met me, my hair flowed, voice sang, I lived, loved, laughed. I owned my curves, my hips swayed, I was all woman. And he made me cut my hair, stop wearing makeup, fed me all day, every day. If I didn't eat, I got beat. He filled me with shame. I became a prisoner to his so-called love. And I guess I should have known, but I didn't, because he was so charming at first. And he didn't seem anything like my daddy. We lived on Elm Street, you know? Isn't that ironic? His name was Frank, but he's my Freddy. He still visits me, comes to me through my nightmares. I wonder sometimes what the police would do if I called them and told them that he's still assaulting me. I wish Indiana had the death sentence, but then again, Freddy never dies. And Frank won't either until I kill him. And I sat back and took a deep breath and said, so Doc, tell me what you think. Can you help me out or not? You want to be my shrink? She pulled her sexy specs off and placed them calmly on her desk, mouth slightly ajar and eyebrow raised, and she leaned back in a huge leather chair, letting out blasting lungs full of air, and said, for starters, I'm thinking you need to lie down on the sofa. It's obvious to me I have made a gross misperception, and judging by what I've just heard, we need to schedule several sessions. You are in desperate need of an intensive psychiatric intervention. And that's when I calmly let her know that poetry does more for me than psychiatry could ever do for me. And words are free, yet priceless. And I informed her I only came to see her because I was bored and restless. And I thanked her for humoring me, and I politely left.